Greetings everyone, my name is Raziel, and the first faction of the Beta-Garmon expansion, the Blood Angels, is close to its release. And you know what that means? Me and my fellow content creators get to give you a little peek at some of the cards that are going to be released. Before we start, I highly recommend you check out the other reveals, in case you haven't done so already. I will be linking the schedule in the description, which contains links to all of the other reveals. But enough talking, let's finally get to some cards. The first card I got for you today is Legionary Amaras, a 1 energy Astartes with 1 attack and 3 HP, as well as the Requiem ability to deal 1 damage to a random enemy. This is basically the little brother of the old Harem squad, but with less damage on its Requiem, the stats balanced slightly different, and for 1 less point of energy. Overall, I expect Amaras to see quite a bit of play, mainly due to being a 1 energy Requiem troop, which is going to be perfect for cards like the Blood Angels mission or the amazing airlifted reserves that benefit off of Requiem triggers. On his own, however, Amaras does not have that big of an impact on the game itself though. Next up, we have the Legionary Danor, a 3 energy Astartes with 3 attack, 4 HP, unstoppable, as well as the Requiem ability to deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Just like Amaras before him, Danor is also the little brother of an old Blood Angels Astartes, this time the 5 energy Angels tiers. Danor just traded in the active ability for unstoppable, other than that he is basically a small Angels tiers with slightly above average stats for his cost. I do feel like Danor is going to have a harder time than Amaras when it comes to seeing play. His Requiem is not bad by any means, but he doesn't have the benefit of being an incredibly cheap Requiem troop like Amaras, nor is the Requiem ability impactful enough on its own like the old Angels tiers. On top of this, the Requiem is more or less all he has going for him. Being slightly overstated has become the norm in modern HHL, which leads me to believe that Legionary Danor might end up struggling to have a meaningful role in the times to come. Fear not, the next card is not another retrain of an existing troop, it is the 2 energy tactic Black Rage, which gives +2 attack and Berserk to all friendly Astartes. Do note that this only affects Astartes on your board and not in your hand and deck, even though the card itself technically doesn't mention this directly. I think that Black Rage is definitely going to see play. For 2 energy the buff is actually quite meaningful and is certainly going to push many a board into lethal range on its own. Plus the art is also really fitting for what the card is all about. Second from last we have the legendary 4 energy Astartes Raziel. He has 4 attack and 5 HP, as well as the Requiem ability to create a random Astartes with Avenge in your hand and reduce its cost by 1. In case you missed the previous reveals, Avenge is basically a conditional rally that only triggers if a certain amount of friendly troops died while the card was in your hand. For example, a card with Avenge 2 needs to quote-unquote witness 2 friendly troops die while you have it in your hand. Comaeus himself seems pretty solid, but I do love the design, which effectively puts your opponent into a lose-lose situation. If they don't kill Comaeus, he will potentially keep generating cards. However, if they do kill him, all the Avenge troops he already generated in your hand will get 1 point closer towards their Avenge effect. With all of this in mind, I fully expect Comaeus to be one of those cards you will see in every deck, without being a card your deck desperately needs to function. Finally, we have none other than the Great Angel himself, Sanguinius. Just like before, Sanguinius is a legendary warlord with 2 attack and 40 HP, unstoppable and a high initiative. He also still has a Reckoning, which we'll be examining in a moment. His ability, however, was changed to 2 energy, create a random Blood Angels Astartes in your hand and give it +1/+1. And this is a very potent ability. Card advantage is something Primarchs really struggle with, thanks to their Reckoning or Whispers of Chaos taking up a slot in your starting hand. Being able to create cards out of thin air effectively fixes that issue. However, recently it feels like this has been the course for basically every legendary warlord that was released. Take Guilliman, Magnus and Veldor, who can all draw cards using their ability. Look at Har and Alfarius creating cards in your hand. I really had hoped Sanguinius would not follow them down this path of being yet another resource generator Primarch, but here we are. Moving on to his Reckoning, which costs 16 energy and goes down in cost by 1 every time you trigger Requiem. This is basically just his old reckoning, just that this time base Sanguinius is not able to trigger Requiem on command. Will the Great Angel also remain unchanged? Nope, he will not. The new Great Angel has 3 attack, 40 HP, unstoppable, as well as high initiative, just like the old one. However, his ability got changed to 2 energy, deal damage equal to this unit's attack stat to all enemies, which is a strict upgrade, and his Requiem now gives +1 attack to all friendly units until the end of the turn. I think it's safe to say that the new Great Angel is pretty strong and more than a viable win con for Sanguinius. Even without triggering any Requiem, he has a 2 energy ability that deals 3 damage to all enemy units, which is pretty strong. His new Requiem also allows his troops to push for lethal a lot more easily, which in turn makes the Great Angel a very dangerous opponent to face. Overall, I have to say I am kind of disappointed in base Sanguinius, not because he's bad, but because his design is simply overused and boring. But the Great Angel definitely makes up for this though. He's a very strong and interesting card in terms of design, in my opinion. And that was it from me for today. What are your thoughts on the new Blood Angels this far? I feel like Everguild tried to create a more balanced version of the Wordbearer's Offering mechanic with Avenge, which in my opinion is a very flavorful mechanic. However, at the time of me recording this video, there haven't been any other reveals yet, so I don't know whether the Avenge effects are ridiculously broken or shamefully underwhelming. In any case, those were my reveals. I'm looking forward to everyone's opinion in the comments and in my Discord server. Have a nice day everyone, and I hope to see you again for the White Scars reveals in 2 weeks.